Hello everyone, you have come to Tata Comic Preview channel. This is an art collage novel video. I made this series so you guys can experience the story faster. The video will focus on the character's psychology, the images are for illustration purposes only. In the underground cave, Mr. Yu scanned every corner with great vigilance, but he could not find Yunxiao's voice. He had a strange look on his face. Although the sacrificial array could shield divine sense, as an 8th-tier alchemist, he was not affected at all in this small space. However, he had searched every corner and could not find any aura. Finally, he turned his eyes back to the Divine Realm tablet and studied it carefully. Could it be that this jade tablet can also break open space and he's hiding in the void? Mr. Yu frowned and shook his head, mumbling to himself. That's impossible. Even if he entered the void, he wouldn't be able to escape. I can't sense any coordinates. Could he have escaped into the jade tablet? This thought gave him a fright. He didn't believe it. That's even more impossible. Other than the legendary Supreme Xian artifact, Noah's ship, no other Xian artifact can do this. He stared at the Divine Realm tablet and muttered to himself, but why is the fluctuation of this profound artifact so strange? Well, since he has such a brilliant way of hiding himself, I'll take this profound level weapon first. It's not a loss. Mr. Yu reached out his hand and grabbed the jade tablet. This jade steel was definitely not inferior to his taillight sword, so he had been mentally prepared that it would not be so easy to collect it. However, the moment his palm touched the jade tablet, a bolt of lightning shot out, creating a powerful arc of lightning that flickered in the surroundings. His body went numb and he hurriedly withdrew his hand. Just as he was feeling surprised, a roar was heard. Then, a huge demonic beast flew out of the Divine Realm tablet and pounced on him. It's actually the beast taming steel. Mr. Yu's heart skipped a beat. He thought that the Divine Realm tablet was a profound level weapon that could contain demonic beasts, like those beast tamers. Although Dark Thunder was extremely violent, it did not panic at all. With a cold snort, it took a step forward and struck out with its palm. Boom! The Dark Thunder's thunderbolt was shattered by his palm power, turning into countless electric arcs that scattered in all directions. The Dark Thunder suffered a huge impact and was sent flying far away. White Flame Ghost Kill, 6 Extreme Halberd. A cold voice was heard. Under the heavenly halberd, a flame quickly appeared in the air and enveloped Mr. Yu. Yoring Luo. Mr. Yu was shocked. On the other side of the fire, an unfamiliar face was staring at him coldly. Under Duan Yu's attack, the Blue Lotus earth fire in the surroundings swept up and roared as it blasted forward. What the hell is going on? Mr. Yu calmed down immediately. With a cold look in his eyes, he swept his taillight sword across, making an ear-piercing sound. The surrounding flames were all spread out and fell behind him. His killing intent was so strong that it was almost tangible, and it directly locked onto Duan Yu. Speak, where are you from? Where's that young man? The cold voice sent a chill down Duan Yu's spine. The man in front of him was even more powerful than what Yunxiao had said. Both he and Dark Thunder had used their most powerful moves, but the other party had only managed to neutralize them with a single move. They had no way of resisting. Damn it, that brat screwed us over. What's the use of calling me out against such a powerful opponent? Duan Yu was so shocked that he broke out in a cold sweat when he sensed the almost tangible killing intent from the man. Moreover, the weapon essence that spread from the taillight sword almost suffocated him. If the other party had slashed down, he would have died without a doubt. You know the answer, but you still ask? You just can't believe it, right? Duan Yu answered carefully, cold sweat rolling down his forehead. Mr. Yu's expression changed drastically. He stared at the Divine Realm tablet and trembled all over. His chest heaved up and down violently. This is really a supreme grade profound level weapon? He was an 8th-tier great alchemist, so he naturally knew what a supreme grade profound artifact meant and how valuable it was. In the mainland's records, only the unparalleled Martial Emperor had refined a super-grade profound level weapon Noah's ship. There are no other records of a super-grade profound level weapon. How could there be one out of thin air? He was so shocked that his mind was in a daze, and he was a little dazed. Not to mention the powerful strength of the transcendent grade profound level weapon, the person who got it would be able to become a peerless master. Moreover, that kind of refining method was something that countless top alchemists would go crazy for. All of a sudden, Yunxiao's face flashed on the Divine Realm tablet. His eyes turned into crescent moons, and his powerful spiritual power spread out. With a slight pull, he was about to suck Mr. Yu in. If he could pull the other party into the Divine Realm tablet, even a Nine Heavens martial sovereign would have to kneel down. Mr. Yu's body trembled. He felt the space around him change drastically, and his body seemed to be pulled by a strong spiritual power. But, he was an 8th-tier alchemist after all, and he immediately came to his senses after a brief moment of distraction. His surging soul power spread out and easily shook Yunxiao's mental power away. He stopped in front of the Divine Realm tablet, and was almost sucked in. A look of strong disappointment appeared on Yunxiao's face, and he disappeared in a flash. Mr. Yu was so shocked that he was covered in cold sweat. Although he didn't know what would happen if he was sucked in, he couldn't predict what would happen if he was sucked in by a supreme-grade Xian artifact. He guessed that he would be killed. Just as he was in shock, a light flashed on the Divine Realm tablet, and a powerful force rushed out. Then, a fist the size of a casserole grew bigger and bigger in his eyes. Mr. Yu quickly threw out a punch, which collided with the stone beast's fist. Boom! Just as the stone beast revealed its entire body, one of its arms began to crack and shatter with a boom. Mr. Yu wasn't in a good state either. The punch came too suddenly, and he wasn't prepared for it at all. His body was also hit by the stone beast's tremendous force, and he was forced to retreat. His qi and blood were surging, and the smell of blood rushed up his throat. Boom! The stone beast's body came out of the Divine Realm tablet completely. It stomped on the ground, making a loud noise. His broken arm quickly reattached and returned to normal. He walked towards Mr. Yu. Mr. Yu felt a little dizzy. He had no idea how many powerful beings were in the Divine Realm tablet. Even a martial supreme like him would not be able to handle the endless stream of experts and demonic beasts. It's indeed a supreme-grade, profound-level weapon. I must get it. He roared and charged forward. The sword light in his hand slashed out, and the sharp sword qi directly shattered the stone beasts that were coming at him. His body shuttled through, and his left hand conjured an art in the air. A huge golden seal was formed in his palm, and a strange demon character enlarged in the air and fell toward the Divine Realm tablet. All of a sudden, the red light on the steel glowed and a streak of true phoenix flame shot out. The entire underground space turned into a sea of fire in an instant. In the flames, a dragon shadow shuttled back and forth. It was actually a demonic dragon that had directly manifested. It used its 9th-tier power to form a sword technique to slay the demonic beast, slashing out with the phoenix flames. At the same time, he activated Earth Rhythm, and the gravity increased by tens of thousands of times. The entire underground cave began to show signs of collapse, and a large number of rock structures began to collapse. Mr. Yu was shocked. It was extremely difficult for him to operate his genuine qi under the 10,000 times gravity. The demon-killing sword and the godly fire made him feel scared. Clear Sky Technique, Sword 8. Rays of sword light appeared on the tail light sword and turned into light rings that spread out. In the end, the sword became bright, and the green light almost shot through the void, slashing down in front of him. Boom! The three forces collided with each other, and Mr. Yu's body was pushed back in the air. The sword qi from the taillight sword formed a pressure that isolated the demon slayer and the phoenix flames. Although he was not injured, it was still difficult for him to withstand the combined attack of the two forces. He was forced to fly back, and his body slammed heavily into the rock wall, blasting out a passage that was dozens of meters long. The demonic dragon returned to the Divine Realm tablet after the attack. Sitting cross-legged on Mount Inch, Yunxiao suddenly coughed up a mouthful of blood, his face extremely pale. Just now when he used the phoenix fire, even though he had taken a physical form, the difficulty of controlling it exceeded his imagination, all of his spirit power was completely exhausted. His physical body was destroyed, his soul power was exhausted, he was practically completely crippled. After the stone beast was destroyed, it reformed and walked towards Mr. Yu. Mr. Yu was stuck in the rock, and he didn't feel good either. Controlling a 9th-tier profound weapon was also beyond his ability, but he had always been cultivating with his life, so he was able to unleash a small portion of the tail-light sword's power. He had thought that he would be invincible among those of the same rank, but he had suffered such a great loss at the hands of a martial king. Even though Mr. Yu's physical body was not injured, his yuan qi and soul power were greatly depleted, and his strength was rapidly decreasing. No. If this continues, I won't be able to open this sacrificial array. He was anxious and rushed out of the rock wall. His left hand quickly formed a seal, and a few rings of light flew out from his palm and covered the stone beast. Circles of light fell, completely binding the stone beast like a rope, making it unable to move. He could only let out angry roars, but no matter how hard he tried, he could not break free. Only Duanyu and Dark Thunder were left standing not far away, watching with cold sweat all over their bodies. They weren't like the stone beasts, who could resurrect infinitely. They would die completely after one death, so they didn't dare to move. Mr. Yu gave Duanyu a cold glance, then raised his sword and was about to slash it down. Duanyu was taken aback. He patted Dark Thunder, and the two of them rushed into the Divine Realm tablet at an unprecedented speed, disappearing with a flash of light. As if affected by Yunxiao's serious injury, the light on the Divine Realm tablet grew weaker, and it stood there quietly, motionless. Mr. Yu's eyelids twitched, and he was furious. At this moment, he had used up most of his power, so he didn't dare to try to take the tablet again. Who knew what other powerful characters were hiding inside, and he wasn't sure about the chances of recapturing them. He had more important things to do with the remaining power. A look of reverence flashed across his face as he walked towards the sacrificial array. A purple light suddenly surged from the formation and formed a barrier, enveloping the entire formation and defending it. The entire formation was less than 100 meters in radius. Four majestic pillars stood at the four corners, and on them were carved all kinds of rare and exotic beasts, as well as strange-faced demon race people. Mr. Yu walked to one of the pillars and observed it carefully. There were a few demon characters on it, which he could recognize. It's actually the legendary great demon Wing of my clan. Mr. Yu's face paled, and he took a few steps back. The demon clan member in the pillar had a strange expression on his face. He was embedded in the pillar like an amber and had long lost his life. However, his majestic appearance could still show the aura he had when he was alive. Wing is a great demon from thousands of years ago. Why is it here? And why is it being sacrificed? Mr. Yu felt his throat was dry and thirsty, and it was hard for him to breathe. He came to another pillar. The demon inside was not as tall and burly as Wing. Instead, she was much smaller and seemed to be a female demon. Mr. Yu looked down at the carvings and words on the pillar and felt dizzy. He felt cold all over and murmured to himself, "It's another legendary demon Li." He didn't even dare to look at the other two for fear that his heart wouldn't be able to take it. The so-called great demon was equivalent to a human almighty warrior who had already stepped into the peak of the martial supreme realm. They were like the 10 great martial sovereigns of the human race, respected by all demons. Gulp. Mr. Yu swallowed hard. He was so shocked that he couldn't think. He had no idea what was inside the sphere. What made him anxious was that this positive yang qi seemed to have been lost for many years. He didn't know if the thing inside was dead or alive. It seems that there's a problem with the formation. This place seems to be the earth vein of the universe, which should be the place where Dragon Chi is born. Why was it flowing in the opposite direction? It must be those damn humans. Mr. Yu gritted his teeth and said, "That must be it." They couldn't break the Heaven Crystal Essence enchantment, so they thought of this method to make the power that they had gathered lose. It had been so many years, but the energy was still flowing out. Heavens! Before this, what kind of terrifying existence would the thing inside be? What's the situation now? Mr. Yu started to panic. Suddenly, he heard a weak voice from the barrier. Who was it? Who is it? He jumped in horror and hurriedly looked at the Divine Realm tablet outside, thinking that it was Yun Xiao again. Little did they know that Yun Xiao was so weak at the moment that he was quickly recuperating in the Divine Realm tablet. "It's me, on your right. I'm Chanshan, Li Chanshan." Mr. Yu was shocked. He quickly looked at the smaller demon. The voice did seem to come from inside, but it was very weak. "How many years has it been? I've finally met someone from my clan, but I don't have much strength left. You listen well, Ing Luo." The female monster called Li began to transmit her voice intermittently. Mr. Yu's face kept changing, from shock to horror, anger, joy, and finally to calm. Li seemed to have said too much in one breath. All of his power poured out and she fell silent again. After the shock, Mr. Yu fell into deep thought. After a while, he made up his mind. He began to sit cross-legged and his hands constantly changed spell gestures. Every time he performed it, it was very slow, as if he was very unfamiliar with it. However, his expression was unusually solemn and serious. Various demon race characters flashed from his body and flew out of the formation. The transparent sphere in the center gradually became bright, flashing and dimming. The yang qi began to gradually stop flowing. At the same time, the 4 pillars glowed with different lights. Like candles, they started to melt under Mr. Yu's spell. Mr. Yu's face was getting paler and paler. He was sweating, but he gritted his teeth and didn't dare to rest. Finally, the 4 pillars were completely melted. A strange aura spread out from the formation. The bodies of the 3 great demons appeared and fell to the ground. It was unknown if they were dead or alive. Li's body gradually sat down cross-legged as if he could still regulate his breathing. Then, Mr. Yu took out a few glass containers, which were filled with blood. He poured all of it into his mouth, and his whole body instantly turned red, as if he had obtained great power again. His eyes were full of excitement, and a large number of demon clan characters appeared around him again. He began to cast them on the transparent sphere in the center. The ball was also drawn by the force and began to melt. Every drop of the white liquid that fell to the ground made a sizzling sound and instantly evaporated, forming a gas that dispersed in the air. After an unknown period of time, the entire array turned white. A man's figure gradually appeared in the air. He was curled up like a baby. But that face was that of a young man around 20 years old. Pfft. Mr. Yu couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood. His entire body became extremely pale, as if he had suddenly aged several decades. His face was actually covered in wrinkles. At this moment, he was shocked to find that one of the 3 demon bodies that had been lying down in the white fog had sat up and was regulating his breathing like Li. Li slowly opened her eyes. Her pupils were dark purple-brown. She stared at the man in the center for a while and said slowly, "Take us away now. We've almost all used up our strength, and our cultivation levels have dropped beyond recognition." "Yes. Lord Li." Mr. Yu took out a large amount of pills again and poured them into his mouth like beans, forcing himself to stand up. He roared in a low voice as he circulated the last bit of his vital qi. Several strong winds formed around him, rolling up the man in the center and the 4 great demons in the pillar. They turned into a strong wind and flew out of the hole. The heavenly crystal barrier suddenly broke open at this moment. The white mist spread out and filled the entire cave. Inside the Divine Realm tablet, on Mount Inner Heart, Duan Yu kept walking around Yun Xiao and said in a flirtatious voice, "I won't be fooled by you again. If you encounter such a terrifying guy in the future, don't call me. You should have hidden in here earlier, and everything would have been fine. Just look at yourself, you almost died." Yun Xiao opened his eyes and said angrily, "Can't you shut up? So much nonsense, so annoying." With a wave of his hand, Duan Yu was teleported to God knows where. In the Divine Realm tablet, Yun Xiao's every move was the law of heaven and earth, and it could not be stopped. He raised his head with doubt in his eyes and muttered to himself, "Why is there no movement after so long? Could it be that that person would give up on this transcendent grade profound level weapon?" With his cultivation as an 8th tier alchemist, even if he could not take it, he would at least try. Why didn't he feel anything? Could he have left? Suddenly, the stone beast's figure appeared in the sky. It had actually escaped from the light circle. Seeing that there was no one around, it had returned on its own. Yunxiao used his divine sense to communicate with the stone beast. Although the stone beast did not have much intelligence, Yunxiao could still learn the information in its mind. What? Yunxiao was taken aback. In a hurry, he appeared outside the Divine Realm tablet in a flash, only to see a white mist, and he could see no one in the entire underground cave. Moreover, the central sphere and the 4 pillars of the array had completely disappeared. Yunxiao had a bad feeling. The information he got from the stone beast's mind seemed to indicate that the demon in the sacrificial array was still alive. This information gave him a huge shock. Who knew how many years this formation had been in operation? How could there be any survivors? If that was the case, just how powerful was that person? We're done for. The big demon has appeared. I'm afraid there's going to be big trouble at 5 Cloud Mountain. Yunxiao's face was filled with deep worry. You don't have to worry too much, the demonic dragon said. How many years has it been since the positive yang qi has been lost? It was already a miracle that those so-called great demons were still alive. Even if they did come back to life, their power would definitely have been exhausted. It's impossible to recover the power of a greater demon in this lifetime unless there's a great opportunity. Such pure energy. Yunxiao was overjoyed after the initial shock. It just so happened that he was covered in injuries, and he had encountered such a great tonic. He hurriedly sat down cross-legged and circulated the qi creation technique to absorb it. Under the nourishment of the white mist, his body was quickly repaired.